Right, so if I do start sharing.
Yep, here we go.
Right. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good. It does help.
Yes.
Right, let me sit a bit nearer so I can grab my thing. Right, well, look, what I'm going to say is if we have any questions, dive in as we go along, because I shall forget about them by the time we get to the end. This is just I thought the easiest way to do it is to go through and just show you my sort of basic way of working to produce these flower images. I used to start off by just using the lasso tool or something and cutting bits out and deleting what was left. But found really that wasn't such a good idea, because very often I then found I'd cut a bit out that I blooming well needed. So the first thing I've learned to do is, sorry, I just dump my background thing because it annoys me, is I will actually cut everything out using a layer mask. So for those of you who are perhaps slightly newer to Photoshop, I don't know if there is anybody who is, or whether I'm teaching you to suck eggs.
No, there's me. Yes.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get grips around any of it.
Start at the very lowest level from my point of view, please.
Yeah, all right. If you look on the bottom row, oh, I've lost my mouse. Boy, who's pinched me mouse? Here it is.
Not me.
Underneath your layers on the bottom, you'll find there's a little grey square with a white hole in the middle, and it says add a mask. And when you click that, you get this little white square coming up by the side of it. Now, Chris told us last week how, not last week, the week before, you layer, really, it's only like layers and layers and layers of acetate that you're looking down through. Well, your layer mask is just like another layer of acetate that you paint on, and if you paint black on it, you hide part of the image that's underneath. That sort of really makes more sense by sort of saying, yes, the black hides your image. So I would always advise to zoom in sort of to quite a degree. And if you use your paintbrush, we'll put the opacity right up on the top row, your opacity up to 100%, just for ease sake. And then make sure that you've got black selected down on the bottom left. Now this is the, what we say, the black paint you're painting on your image, so that you are hiding your image. Then you just using my bracket keys, which are next to the P. Oh, sort of. Sorry.
I heard that.
I would choose.
One of us, you want us to sod off?
Yeah. Come on. I would choose a hard edge brush. Just to start with, just to go round. I'm only going to do this very roughly. I would suggest you take a little bit more care.
Really?
All right. And you see what I mean by being very, very rough, right? This is just really to give you the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look on that mask, up on that layer, you can see what I've painted black. and that has hidden everything that is below it. And the beauty of using this system to cut things out is that if you swap the, I'm pointing with my finger.
Yeah, I did that.
The black and white squares down the bottom left, if you swap them round so that you've got white paint, and you can see what a pig's ear hole I've made of this flower here. If I paint over it again, I bring back bits I've missed. Now, obviously, I would take time with a smaller brush, and I would blow it up closer and sort of go in, or if I hit X, just think X, if you look at the black and white paint on the left hand side, you press X, it exchanges the black and the white, and this is just a much easier way of then going all the way around the edge of something, and sort of masking it out. So it's fiddly, but it's not as bad as going round the other way, deleting pixels, which then you can't then replace.
I always think, Heather, it's a bit like shelling peas. It's a right pain until you get into it, and then it's quite fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do get, you can see your effort. You can see where you're sort of getting to, and by having your finger on the X, you can just paint things back in, and or paint them out as you go, and it does get quite quick in the end. When you first start, it's a bit fiddly, but you can see how eventually, if you go round it all, you are left with just the part of the image you want. And of course, the beauty of this is that when you've got something like this, if you were here, not too far up, all these little bits in here, you can, you know, sort of go through and pick out all the little bits.
Do you go in much more zoomed than you are at the moment?
Sorry?
Do you go in a lot more zoomed than what you are at the moment?
Not really, because to be honest, when it's that fine, when you zoom out,
It's all right.
you know, it doesn't really see. Now,
Right.
I'm not. Do you want to answer that?
Well, that's just to tell us that we're a couple of minutes away from our applauding the NHS and key workers.
Right.
So I don't know whether we want to do that now or.
Well, we can. Yeah. Well, we might as well pause now. You've interrupted, Heather, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, you can finish it off then, Heather.
All I was going to say is, to save time, I've done it.
True Blue Peter style.
Yeah.
Yes, here's one you've done earlier.
I could have sat here and let you go and clap and say I'd done that while you were gone. Yeah.
Right, I will.
We'll go and.
We'll go and do the biz, and we'll see you in 5 minutes then, Heather.
Yeah.
Right.
The percussion instrument.
A lot of background noise going on.
The night one's like to see when you do is.
Cool, that was thirsty work.
Somebody's making non-essential trips for fireworks around our way.
Yeah, we just had some fireworks.
We had fireworks.
Massive amounts around here.
Yeah, we've just had a load of car horns and that as well.
Yeah.
Because my neighbour, she's a NHS worker. Well, so,
Who on this call? Well done to the two of you.
Yeah.
What about old Captain Tom then? 12 million quid?
No, it's gone up to 15 million now.
Oh, 15.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look.
Wow.
So much so, he said, while people are still donating, I'm going to still keep walking. Yeah. I mean, you've got to admire him. I mean, that's incredible.
Did anybody else sing "You'll Never Walk Alone"?
No. No.
No.
No.
Oh, okay. Only me then.
I'd get arrested for my singing.
Well, you don't have to do anything. You're the recipient.
No, because
Yes.
we still want to celebrate all the lorry drivers
Yes,
and
true.
things like that, and other parts of the health service.
Yeah, key workers. Yeah, true,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even down to people like your bin men and that. Without
Yes.
it, we'd all end up with
Yes.
sort of cholera.
Yeah,
Yep.
good point.
True.
Yeah. Your shop assistants,
Absolutely.
they're in the line of
Yeah.
they're in the line of fire of everybody.
Yes, yes. And obviously professional footballers. They're
Absolutely in the line of fire, that one.
Quite good.
sorry, is that a little bit too controversial?
No, that's what we
No,
expect.
it's
from you,
absolutely
Paul.
fine, mate. Don't forget the cleaners.
Well, I suppose really it's everybody else apart from us lazy stay-at-home bastards.
Yes. We've
No,
done,
but
but in the past you've been doing your taxes, haven't you? So you've contributed.
Yeah. Is everybody back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those that are not yet, speak up now.
Yell if you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all there.
Right. So the thing is, you've got your image that you've cut out. The next thing is to choose what background you're going to use. Now the thing is that you can just sort of paint with colours onto a blank piece of paper. I was going to say onto a blank layer and do, but very often I find that you don't always get the exact colour match that you really want. And instead of fiddle-faddling around with the eyedropper tool and that, I tend to use the layer I've cut out. I drag down onto the one next to the bin and make another layer. And then with the
Sorry, Heather, if I can just take you back, because I got the bit how we're shading it out. How do you then create that new layer, like you've got there as layer one?
Oh, that's right. We sort of missed that one, didn't we? Once we've got all that layer out,
yep,
you are left with just the flower because you've wiped everything else out.
Mm-hmm.
So as you like this white piece here, the whole of the background will be white.
Yeah, but you've converted your mask to a layer, haven't you? With the image in it. You haven't created another layer with an accompanying mask.
No, not at the moment. This
You're layer one.
I'm just gradually painting all of the excess out, and what I'm left with is just what looks like that.
Yeah, but shouldn't that have an accompanying mask, Heather?
It's because it was the one she did earlier. It was her Blue Peter. That's why she's got the extra layer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all you need to do is, I can't do it on this one because obviously I haven't masked it all out. But if you do Control and J, it will make a copy. I'll do it. Control and J, it makes an exact copy of what you've got. And what you will have is just the flower with all the background will be white because you've painted it out. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Layer one should have an accompanying mask with it.
No, it shouldn't.
Yeah, no, you've applied the layer at some point. You've applied the layer mask at some point.
Well, no,
on layer one.
Because if you look, it's not exactly the same.
No, I know, but you haven't. That one you're showing us should have a layer mask with it.
This one?
Yes.
No. It might have. It will have when you've. Unless you flatten image, or very often I do merge visible or whatever. But because I'm doing this, I'd already got this image already cut out. I had to go back and find that one to show you what I did to get to that.
Yeah, okay.
You see what I mean? Which is why there's no layer mask on this one, because
Heather, how have you got rid of that layer mask to create layer one?
It's the same image.
Assuming you were doing this from that first one you showed us.
Yeah.
Right. What's your go back to that first layer.
Let's go back to this one, and I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's get the paintbrush. And let's really just,
That's it. Yeah, lovely.
all right.
There we go. Right.
I've cut out my image.
Yep.
If
Now-
you do,
Looks
Yeah.
all right to me.
if you do Control J,
That copies your layer.
yeah,
But you've still got your layer mask in
there
that.
is still a layer mask, but I haven't got it on this one because, like I said, I've only used this to show how I do it.
Right. So
with the layer
normally,
mask.
you'd have that layer mask on that.
There
On
would
that
be a
one?
layer mask on there, yes.
All right, lovely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But because I'd already cut this out previously, and this has come from this is just a flattened image. It hasn't got a layer mask.
Yeah.
But if it keeps you happy, there we are.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah,
Very good.
all right. Yeah, so what I will tend to do is I will make a copy of the image. I'll turn the one off, the one that I'm using, and if you just do Control T, you can. I keep losing my bloody mouse. You can sort of move your image and stretch it. Oh, somebody's not happy.
Little shits.
Right. And then, having got that, if you drag that down to the little square next to the bin and make yet another layer, which you can. Oh, that's not doing it. No, that shouldn't be doing that, but I'll
You got. What's the problem?
it's all right. I'm just
Right.
trying to get rid of some of those the white bits.
Oh.
I've lost me. I can't see in the dark. Whee!
Put the light on then.
Purely by putting, say, two of the images together, and then going into up on the top right and merge visible, it puts them both into one image. By using Control T, you can just stretch it out so as it sort of fills your background. And you think, well, that's a bloody awful background. But if you go into Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and whack it right up, right. You get sort of more of a sort of a background, and by using your clone tool, you can. Where are we? Let's choose a big soft brush. Go off. By taking the opacity of your brush down to about, say, 60, and just painting in any white bits, you're starting to get a coloured background which is the same colours as your flower, so that nothing really jars. You need to take the opacity of that right down to you know, so that it's quite soft before sort of doing anything else. I mean, I would probably go back into filter and Gaussian blur it a second time or even a third time, just to make it very soft and soft and nondescript. If I then put the flower, no, I always get trouble which one I put on top of which one.
Got to get rid of that layer mask, and that's what's hiding it.
No, it's
Yeah, I can never remember which one it is to
Is it overlay?
do. No.
No, obviously not.
No.
try multiply.
Yeah, that's the one I had first, and it's
All right.
it's a bit dark, but
Or darken. It's probably in that set. See the darken multiply. Yeah, probably one of those.
yeah. Well, the other thing is, if you click on the flower itself, let's get rid of let's put the background below it. The other thing is, with your tragic tool, your tragic wand, you can click. Oh. Hang on.
You're on the wrong layer.
Eh?
You're on the bottom layer. You should want to be on the top layer. That's why your wand didn't work.
That's why it won't work. Yeah. Told you, my brain is going slowly AWOL. This is when I will press delete, because if you just select it, delete it, that's another way of doing it and getting around the fact that it's being a pig zero. And I mean, I am doing this very roughly, but by selecting it, if you go into refine edge, and this is, oh, you know why? I know why I'm having trouble, because I'm in CS4. Because I haven't got, I've normally got a little square I tick, and I can refine the edge and whatever to get rid of, oh, what's it called? It when you refine the edge, it you can
It's not the find edges one, is it?
no, it's got a what do you call it? A brush beside it, and you brush on the edges, and they all disappear. It's sort of like, so if you've got hair and that poking out, you can sort of keep all the hair in. That's all right. Look, I've just no, Bob. It's only roughly anyway. So having got your background, when you bring your image up in front of it, you can then adjust the depth of the background to balance in with the image. Now, I find that to have just a background like this is it's a little bit boring. So I've missed a bit down here. Look, let's just clone in a bit down the bottom, just so it's a bit darker. I think it's a little bit bland. So when you go into your brushes, Photoshop has, if you go down a bit, it's got some interesting brushes that you can choose to help to make textures. But you're a bit limited really with what is in there. But there is a firm called Obsidian Dawn where you can download brushes for free. Now, if you're using them for making money and that, then you buy a license. But for hobbyists, they allow you to download these brushes for free. And I find they're very useful for putting a little bit of texture into a background. So if we scroll down, let's find a bit of script. Should we say? I don't know what. Yeah, that'll do. Right. When using any of these brushes and that, I would make a new layer by pressing on that button next to the bin, and then you choose your the brush you want to use, and then just put just stamp it. Now, the beauty of doing this on a layer is that you can then take the opacity down so that it's not over the top. Always change it and what it is, because if you've got 8 or 9 blank layers with different things on, you can soon drive yourself nuts trying to find which one it is that you want on or off. So, oh, you can have clouds, mist, trees. I haven't got them all down on this computer because I don't use this one very often, but you know, you can sort of create some gentle effects, but always take the opacity down and write on it what it is, because you'll never forget, never remember. And some of the brushes, they've got runes and you know, I mean, some of them are weird. It's all right. I didn't make a new layer. And you can just slowly sort of build up. Oh, I like that. Not me picture, the noise. Yeah, I would always suggest if you do a bit of writing or anything, if you do it at the top, just do a little bit at the bottom, just to balance it up, really. So you see what I mean? You're just gradually building textures up within it, and if you go back to turning all of them off, I think it makes it just a little bit more interesting.
Do you have to put those textures onto the sort of that background layer by bringing your sort of your actual flower one up to the top, so that sits above everything?
Yeah, not necessarily. Some of these go over the flowers. If you wanted to, it's zooming close.
So it comes down to what effect you're after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't like script and stuff or anything over the top of the flower. So I wouldn't sort of actually do that, but there might be sometimes if you're using one of the soft clouds or something that you might want it very gently above, you know, sort of above the image. But to me, that now looks. Let's take the opacity of that one down because that's a bit.
Sorry, play
Sorry, Heather, it's Paul. What's the name of that brush supplier?
Right. It's called Obsidian Dawn. And I tell you what we'll do. If I minimize this, minimize that. I'll actually go in and show you, because when you first look, you think, oh, crumbs, you know, it's yeah, Obsidian Dawn.
Oh, you can't beat a good GIMP.
Who doesn't like a GIMP?
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
You
as I say, can you select that, Heather,
I
and
use it as my
and then-
standard photo editor.
then dump it into the chat box?
Yeah, how do I do that?
If you cut and paste the address bar,
Yeah.
select it, yeah. So if you select it and then copy it,
If I select,
copy,
and
then if you go down to the bottom right hand screen, there's a little thing called chat in your Skype window.
oh, right. Let me turn Skype back on then.
Right,
Chat.
you've got a little thing. You click on that, and you've got another window come up by the side of it.
Yeah.
And then just paste it into the bottom where it says type message. Click in. Now return. Is it? And anybody can pick that up now then?
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Right.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So if we go back onto here, like they say, if you're using these brushes, I mean, they look pretty garish on here like this, but there are some really good, I mean, things like sort of butterflies or bullet holes or anything for textures. And there's pages, well, yeah, there's 7 pages of them. So, yeah, one of the handy ones is clouds. So let's put, oh, no, I've seen a better one. Cobwebs. All right, it just comes up like that. Download. You agree to terms of use. Yeah, okay. But all they ask is that if you do anything publicly, that you just give them the acceptance that, you know, this is an yeah.
It's one of theirs.
Yeah, it's one of theirs. So they're very generous in letting you use any of their things. Now, sorry, so I'll just talk you through doing it right thing, because it took me ages to work out. I'm not computer literate like the rest of you, but when you go into
Been pretty good to me.
Yeah.
When you go into Explorer and look in downloads, what was the one I just
right
did?
at the top. Cobwebs.
Oh yes, right. If you click on there and somewhere it's select all.
Oh
no.
No. Double click, perhaps.
Yeah.
There it is. That's it.
And then you hit the bottom one is called an ABR file. So if you click on that and then extract all, it will just automatically go in. Now, once it comes up as an unzipped ABR file, if you just double click on it, it will automatically put it into your brushes. But don't do what I did and panic and look at it, oh, it's not in there and I'll have to have another go and all this business. It won't show up until the next time you open Photoshop. All right.
Right.
So I got about 4 of every brush because I kept clicking on it and it wasn't working. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. But it doesn't show up until the next time you're on Photoshop, because obviously it's got to load it into its memory. But that is really where I do make my own brushes sometimes, but to be honest, they've got better ones than what I have, so I might as well use them. I don't know what else I've got on here, but it's they're just yeah, look, let's put a bit of light rays in. That one is very handy for sticking into trees and bits, and of course once you've done it, you can move it exactly where you want it, because it is a brush on a separate layer, which is why I will say make a separate layer. So that's really it, sort of on making your what do you call it, making your backgrounds and that. But if you I tend to think, well, they look a little bit a little bit harsh round the edge. So I would click on the layer mask of my actual flower, let's choose an ordinary brush because I don't want to land up a soft edge brush, and take the opacity down to about, say, 20% or something. And then find where your flipping mouse is, and a softish brush. Oh, help. If it doesn't work, you've got the wrong colour up. Choose your black. And you can sort of go around some of the harsher parts of the image just to sort of soften it into the background a bit.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So it looks like you haven't cut it out and dumped it on something else.
Yeah, got it in one. Yeah,
Which is always a problem.
That's a bit sort of in your face. So, so that's it really. But of course, once you've done it, you can, because you've done it on separate layers, you can click and see which ones really work or which ones you know, you want to sort of make a bit paler or lighter, or you know, you can sort of, you've got full adjustments then, and that's it. It's as easy as that. Paul doesn't sound convinced.
Well, not the easy bit. No,
I could agree on that one.
Yeah, yeah. It's until you actually get used to layers and
Yeah.
and the way they work. I've always found them to be tricky. Sometimes I'll get it right, and you know, other times I just find it like it's like learning a different language sometimes.
What I discovered the other day, someone was probably better at Photoshop than me because I'm rubbish at it. But if you hit Alt and the new layer, it puts the new mask, it puts the black mask in, and then you have to use a white brush instead of a black brush. I don't know what difference that makes, but it seems that they seem to use it in certain processes. Sometimes you have a black layer mask, sometimes you have a white layer mask. I have no idea what the difference is between them though.
It's so what I
usually have a white layer because I think if you use it, it helps your brain to think that if I'm using black paint, black conceals, black hides. So black conceals and white reveals.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
So that's why I tend to use a white mask, because I know then if I'm using black, I'm hiding something.
If you've got a lot of black to do, you might as well just paint in the small bits of white that you want.
Well, yes, yeah. If you've got a lot of black, if most of the image is going to be sort of concealed and only a small part, then yes, do it the other way around because it's quicker. But
when you create a new layer mask,
yeah,
if you go into there's a paint bucket about halfway down your tool palette on the left hand side.
Yeah.
There.
That
basically, if you go to the paint bucket and depending on whether you've got white or black in your selection down the bottom there, you can either completely black the layer or completely white it.
Yeah.
So then you can make the choice as to whether you want, if as people just said, if you've got a lot of black to do, we'll make it black and then just paint white to remove.
Or the other way is Control I, which is invert.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure quite how much info you've actually put on your layer mask, if you want to check, if you right click on it, you can then do disable layer mask, and you can see what effect that layer mask has had. So you right click on it, then enable, and you can see exactly how much effect the layer mask has actually had. Whoops, yeah, so right click, disable, and you see how, to me, that's quite
It's
harsh.
jumping out the page, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Whereas just to soften it and do. So, right, Paul, and that, in any other queries on layers and layer masks?
Heather,
Yeah.
there was a message from Leslie. She apologises. She left the group because her Wi-Fi disappeared. She says,
Yeah.
but she'll watch the recording.
Yeah. Oh, right. No, that's welcome. I can't see what's happened anyway.
No.
Yeah. Another little tip when doing this sort of thing, I've got it as an action to make a what I call a 50% grey layer, and I'll show you how to do that, because that's quite useful. If you make a new layer with the button by the bin, go to Edit, Fill, 50% grey, OK. Then go to Normal on your Dubry Watt bar, blending options, and choose Overlay. That shouldn't make any Hang on, let's do this again. Layer 4, Edit, Fill, 50% grey.
You need to change the blending mode in there.
Preserve transparency.
Yeah, that was unticked. Yeah, yeah, you can do it in here. I normally do it on the other thing, but it doesn't matter. Overlay. OK. Right, now you can see turning it on and off, it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. But if I choose my brush and let's have black, you only want something like about, say, 4% or whatever. You can actually paint a little bit of shadow in places if you want, or the other way around is to have the white, and that's that. I always find white needs to be up a bit higher, but you can you see how it's lightening it. You can just lift odd little bits. Obviously you wouldn't go quite that high, but you can just lift certain areas, or like say the black, you can sort of darken areas. Only obviously not quite. So I said with the black you only really need something like about 4 or 5%. But that can help to make a difference. If I turn that layer on and off, you can see the difference that can make. So that's a 50% grey layer that you paint. We used to call it a burn and dodge layer because you can burn and dodge just small areas on it. If you've got a really big brush, let's take it right down to and just gently tease in areas. Oh, that's a bit dark up there. Just gently lighten. You know, you can really make the difference, the whole feel of an image, just by tweaking with the grey layer. Questions? Everyone gone to sleep.
Heather,
Yeah.
could you just show people the difference between the different overlay modes in two layers, just to try and give people an idea of what that's actually doing?
Yes. Right. So if I choose my flower layer, which is just, oh look, you can see where I've scribbled all over it. If I choose my flower layer, this is in normal blending mode. Let me blow it up a bit so that sometimes when I'm doing working out which blending mode to do, I will scroll down through them all. So if you click on it so that it's blue, then you scroll your mouse down, it goes to the next one, and you can see how that's sort of dissolve, darken, multiply, colour burn. And providing you keep your arrow on the blending mode bar, you can just scroll through and just see. I mean, that one's not too bad, the overlay. You see the difference between what they all do.
So what is Photoshop actually doing to your image?
Clue.
What it's doing, Paul, is is what you're telling it to do. So you've got two layers, one sitting on top of the other. Yeah. And normally, if you think of them as two layers of acetate, one is just sitting on top of the other. But these aren't acetate, really. These are just pixels, and pixels are just numbers. Yeah. Right. And what it's doing is it's saying you can either just put one number over the top of the other. So if you've got 12 on the top layer and you've got 0 on the bottom layer, you'll always get 12. Right?
Right. Yeah.
But or what you can do is you can blend it in a different way. Yeah. And each of those is just changing the way those two layers interact. Yeah. Right. So Heather, you just drop the list down for us. Yes, it. Yeah. So normal is what we're talking about at the moment. So we overwrite everything that's below it. Yeah. When we darken, what we do is we say is the pixels that are darker overwrite the ones that are lighter below. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Next one down is multiply. Right. And it's what that does is makes it slightly darker, because what it does is it takes the top number and multiplies it by the bottom number, makes a darker number. Yeah.
Right.
So multiply anything by 0, you get 0.
Yeah. So, and then basically So each of these are working on different parts of a pixel or a group of pixels. So you've got the color, the the hue, saturation, and lightness, and you can work on each of those three. So color burn will work on the hue, and so forth. So if you drop that down again, Heather, what it's grouped as is the first. So you've got normal. Dissolve is just weird. I think Dissolve, that was somebody's. Yeah, that was just somebody's project. That was they got a student in for the afternoon. So dark and multiply and color burn are things that usually make your image darker. Yeah, because it's adding the two numbers together. Light and screen, color dodge, linear dodge, and light and color usually make things lighter because they're taking away and reducing the effect of your top layer on the bottom layer.
Right.
And then overlay is kind of a special one that allows it to just sit on the top of 50%. And if you make it darker, then it makes the bottom layer darker. If you make it lighter, it makes the top layer lighter, which is Heather showed.
Right.
Yeah, and then soft light, hard light, and so forth are just mimicking the way light interacts with the top layer to use the luminosity, technical term, to
So you've been reading up on this, Chris?
Eh?
You've been reading up
No,
on
he's just bright.
I'm just incredibly dull. I have no life. This is what I do. I spend my entire life learning software.
Yeah, well, I learned all of them, and I've probably forgotten them all again.
Yeah.
It's called being a nerd.
Yes, yeah, it is a bit really. There's is it a difference? Just click on a difference layer for us, is that? No, yeah.
Oh dear.
So what that's doing is that's doing the opposite, if you like, and then exclusion. Yeah, those are just like really taking it to the extreme, and they're basically just all they're doing is deciding how the top layer interacts with the bottom layer.
Right.
And if you want, you can pull the mathematics for yourself and work it out. Obviously, I mean, but you probably know it anyway, Paul.
Yeah.
That's
helpful. Actually, that's
quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that luminosity one is quite good, isn't it?
Yeah, luminosity is quite good if you're putting sort of curves or brightness or the other one on it, levels, and sometimes when you adjust them, it adjusts the colour. So if you just turn it to luminosity, that's all you're doing is affecting the brightness of the picture.
Yeah. And of course, if you go up to the top where it says RGB, and let's choose the blue, because that's, you can just alter the tweak the color.
There are so many permutations and combinations, aren't there, that
yes,
you would never ever get
1,001 ways to bugger up a picture.
Yes.
Yeah,
Probably only use about 5% of it.
Yes, yeah.
it's just finding the 5% that does what you want it to do.
Yeah.
So it's just really is just sit and playing. Let's dump that one. But yeah, certainly try those things in Obsidian Dawn, those brushes, because they can. In fact, I thought of Chris for Jeff the other day.
Me?
Yeah, there was something we were saying with one of the images, and a tree. They have got only on 4%. Let me make sure I'm on a layer. There we are. You want to put a tree in your background, in your a silhouette in your
I see, yeah.
yeah, but it's just, I mean, some of these surreal ones, the clouds and that, I find are really quite useful, especially if you've got a sky that just needs a bit of, you know, just a little bit of extra cloud in it.
Enlivening, yeah.
It, you know, it can,
Oh, if only I was self-isolating. Have time to play.
Yeah, if only I wasn't working all the bloody time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just a matter of playing and doing, and
Whiling away the hours.
yeah, the layers are really worth playing around with, even if you start off by making yourself a load of layers, say put in half a dozen layers, getting a paintbrush with different colours and sort of drawing on it or scribbling on it, and having a look at how they interact with each other, clicking on this little one here next to the FX, and sort of putting a layer mask on and rubbing them in and out. It's just a matter of playing with it, just to sort of really just get your head around how masks work, and how they interact with each other. Because once you've got layers and masks, you can do anything.
With when you're using the brush, if you're using black and white, does that only hide and reveal?
Yeah.
So what if I use a brush on a plain layer that, say, with a red brush, does it paint a red stripe across the picture?
You can only paint black and white on the layer.
It's on the layer. So what if I've got a picture I want, and I want, it's got a horrible hole in the corner that I want to fill in with a bit of black or a bit of blue paint? I can't do that.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
You can do that on a separate layer.
If you make one of those 50% grey layers,
right? Yeah.
Right, that I'd said, and let's say I want a nice red. Let's choose my paintbrush.
Nice
let's just go for we don't want 100% because that would really. I can paint whatever colour I like.
So you can only do the colours on a plain layer. You can't do it on top of where there's an image.
Yeah, you can do it on top of the image.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I'm painting over the
no,
image.
but you're already on. You're on a separate layer. What I mean is, if you had layer 1 selected, you wouldn't be able to paint red on that.
Oh yes.
Well, yeah, but why would I want?
No, I've done it for instance, like I've got a hole in the corner of the picture or something. I just want to dob it in with the colour that was already on the.
Yeah, but you would do it on a separate layer.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just didn't know.
Yeah,
how
if you did it on that layer, you would.
Black or white.
No. I think the technical term is fuck your image up.
because it's non-recoverable.
Yeah,
okay, fair enough, yeah.
You are damaging the pixels in your image.
Got you.
You're actually damaging the pixels.
What was that called again?
Eh?
What was the technical term?
Yeah.
It was French, I think.
Could you write that in chat just so that we can remember it?
Oh, this is why you never ever do anything on an image that's got pixels in it. like the layer with the flowers or the layer with the background. You never, ever, ever do anything straight onto that layer.
Heather, sorry, carry on. Yeah, wait, I'll wait till you're finished.
Yeah, because once you've ruined the pixels on there, you cannot get them back.
Destructive.
So if you make another layer, just a blank layer, and you do it on then, if you've cocked it up like I have here, you just grab it and bin it. And you haven't damaged your pixels, you haven't damaged your image. So always, always use a separate layer, because if you cock it up, you can bin it.
Heather, one way of, if you want to just fill in a bit of a hole that's missing, if you've just got a layer with an image on it, what I quite often do is duplicate that layer. So I've got a second image layer. If you were starting from scratch and you had an image, just duplicate that layer. So you've got a second layer, and then on the second layer, you can use your clone tool to pick up colours or parts of image from the existing layer, clone it into that space. Then if you like it, you can merge the two layers. If you don't like what you've done, you just bin it and start again.
Yeah. I've actually got a hole here where I was playing about. What I would tend to do is, once again, just do a blank layer. I sort of click off what is below it. Right, that was the hole there in the middle. If you do it on a blank layer, choose your clone tool. At the top, do current and below, and then if I can find me, trying to find me.
Yes, in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, I've got script. That's why it's let's choose a
standard brush.
If I choose, say, somewhere around here.
That's an Alt and a pick to get the.
If you do Alt and pick, choose a bit and fill it in, and I still haven't altered my original image. It's on a separate layer, because if in a later time I think, do you know what, I've chosen the wrong bit there, I should have done it on a pale blue, I can dump that layer and do it again.
Or you can actually use the erase tool and rub it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the undo in edit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the current and below? Why does it say current and below? Does it not adjust the layer below it then as well?
Well, yeah, what it's doing is, if I had just current.
Oh, I see. There's nothing.
This is a blank layer, isn't it? It's not. There's no information in there.
Yeah, it's picking up, not dropping down.
It's copying from the layer below.
Yeah.
You can actually alt click on other layers below it if you've got something that you want to put in there, and then onto the top layer.
Yeah. Right. So let's say I want. Right. I'll alt click. Let me put it up to 100% just so you can see what's happening. Although I'm on a blank layer, I've alt clicked on there.
Yeah.
And I can put another flower in because it's picking it up off the layer below. It's not touching the layer below, but it's taking the information from the layer below. And
I assume that's got a soft edge on it because you had a soft brush that you picked up.
Because I had a soft edge brush, yeah. But you can move it around and, you know, So if you don't get it in exactly the right place, it's all manipulable.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
You could even paint an entire copy of that flower to somewhere else on the picture if you wanted, by using that clone tool.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so if we put a new layer, and let's swap the brush up.
I was going to say, use a smaller brush, Heather, and paint it. Because that's just basically grabbing it and plonking it down.
Yeah.
If you make your brush a lot smaller, smaller, down. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah. Now, select a point on pick a point on that flower somewhere.
Yeah.
Right, now go to a clear area of the image and start painting. There you go.
Yeah.
Painting an exact copy of. You've just got to watch where, if you look at it very closely, I don't know whether you can see it on that, it will be showing you where it's picking up from on the image. If you go zoom in, Heather, it should be showing you.
So if I pick up from there,
yeah, move it over to the left on the white.
Here, you can see where that little cross.
Yeah, there's a little cross on that white flower in the middle.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pointing with my finger because you can't.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
But that's because you've got that little tick on aligned up there in the context menu.
Current and below.
No, to the left of that. It says aligned.
Aligned, yeah.
And that's because you've got that clicked.
Yes.
If you want that cross to stay in one place, you unclick that, and then that will stay still then.
No, it's still moving around.
You have to unrelease, then start painting again.
Right.
Oh, something's happened.
Right, now click somewhere else, Heather, and paint. No, I was going to say leave the source the same.
All right.
Right, now go paint in the corner. Right, now drop that image there. Now go into another corner and paint again. You see, you got the same image.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
So it's starting with the same base point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the difference with aligned, isn't it?
Yes.
And non-aligned. Yeah.
Yeah. I must admit, I always work with aligned. Purely because that's what I'm used to.
Heather, what I was going to say is when you blur your images and things, that do you not use smart layers?
No. No,
because what that allows you to do.
We're getting even more complicated now.
And then go back and re-edit the sharpening or the blurring again.
Yeah, I tend to do all that before I get it into this. I get the image sharpened and whatever before I sort of fiddle around with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I must admit, I've never. So where do I get smart layers? Come on, you.
Right, if you go up to filter, if you click on your layer 1.
Is that in CS4? It's quite an old version.
Yeah. And if you go up to filters, it says convert to smart filters.
Ah. All right. Okay.
Then you get a little square in the bottom. Now, if you add a blur, add a filter to it for something wacky. Go on.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, click OK. Right.
Oh, I like that.
Then now you can actually turn the filter on and off, or if you double click on it, you can edit it again.
Oh dear.
Double click on.
The smart filter. Come down a little bit onto the white square underneath.
Oh yeah.
Smart filters. Come down.
No, come down a bit.
Down and right a little bit.
Yeah, where it says smart filter, or double click.
Oh, I see. Oh.
Oh, now it's all gone.
No, Control Z.
No, you've clicked on the wrong tab. You want layers. Yeah, that's it.
Control Z.
Yeah, I've done Control Z.
Go back in your history then.
No, I've
Have
lost.
you created a new layer? Have you created a new document?
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Click on that one on the left, on the top. Click. Go up a bit.
Up a little bit.
Up a little bit. That's it.
Bernie the bolt.
Go back to layers. Go to where it says ripple underneath. See where it says ripple.
Oh, the ripple. Yeah.
Double click. Now you can edit it again.
Bloody hell.
So what that means is it's even less destructive.
Yeah, and you can also you've got a mask you can add to it as well, so you can mask areas and you can turn it on and off.
Oh, so that one
is the mask.
So if I go to ripple again and whack it up so I can see it. All right, okay. If I go to that and then paint it out black and white with me brush.
Yeah.
Oh, mind you, I don't find a. Whoops.
That's it. Yeah.
Ah.
And if you had a sharpener or a blur, you just get multiple effects come underneath the ripple.
Right. So if I go then to levels and whatever. I've then got layer one smart. Oh no, it's done it up there.
Yeah, it only works for filters.
Oh, I see. Only for filters, right?
Yes. So if you add another filter now.
Yeah. So filter. What can we use? Something that's
sketch.
Yeah, so it affects the rest of it, but not the bit that.
Yeah, you put the mark. Yeah.
Huh. Oh right. Oh, thank you for that.
Best I don't go to sleep tonight. I've forgotten all that in the morning.
There's loads of videos on this stuff on YouTube and stuff. I mean, just take it. You just do the basics first of all. You don't need to know all of this stuff. The basics is just how levels interact with each other is all you really need to know.
A question probably for Chris, I would think. I did some star trails last night, not particularly successfully through the window, but I got some trails. And when I stacked the layers, they said to make all of the layers bar the top layer lighten. Why lighten particularly? Any ideas?
Okay. So the way it works is, so your base layer would be black, yeah, with one star on it.
Yeah.
all you want to send down onto that layer from the next layer above is just the stars. Yeah. So what it does, lighten will just, all it will do is use the lighter areas to lighten the layer below.
Right, so it just picks all the stars out.
And it's again, and then lighten on the next layer. You're just saying, use the bright bits from this layer to put on the layer below.
All right, so unfortunately it drags all the street lights and everything else that drags in the bottom of the picture as well, then, so you can't really avoid that, can you?
Well, they are light, yeah. So what you would do is, what you could do is you could create a mask and mask all those out once you've done it.
That's an idea. What have I got at that?
Because you can send it to black, because that's what colour skies are.
Yeah. I did whack all the shadows down and the blacks down and the highlights up, but unfortunately, I still ended up with quite a dotty effect. But then I suppose every time the camera opens and shuts, it's going to leave a bit of a space, but it seemed to leave almost a star's width in the holes, which is a bit weird. But
yeah, it shouldn't be
noise reduction.
Say again, sorry.
Your noise reduction. You've got to have that switched off.
Yeah.
Noise reduction switched off in the camera.
Yeah, noise reduction for long exposure.
I think that's on actually.
Yeah, turn that off, because it takes twice as long to do the noise reduction as it does to take the exposure.
Ah, okay.
Or you can use an Olympus.
Yeah.
I hear there are people who aren't using Olympus cameras. I don't believe it myself. But
No, I couldn't understand it.
So I hope I haven't confused you too much.
No, I think that was really interesting. I like the way you do your backgrounds. I'd never thought of doing that before, Heather.
Well, I came up with the idea because I was choosing my colours at my colour picker, and you know, it's hard to sort of find out which colour it really is. And then I used to use me eyedropper and pick. Yeah. But funnily enough, you pick up. Now, would you have said where I picked was, you know, that sort of colour?
Yeah,
So,
the trouble is it's a narrow choice, isn't it? Unless you use a wide sampling of, a 5x5 or 11x11 or something, then it's a bit difficult to pick up the colour.
It's also flat as well, isn't it? Whereas the bit you're taking from has got ridges in it, and you're taking a flat thing, and it never looks the same colour, whatever you do.
No.
It's a completely different colour.
I think it's all witchcraft.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether no, it's not in there, that one. Oh, yeah, just excuse my husband's stomach.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you see, if you look close, although you've just got there's a dandelion down there, there's a bit of cloud there, there's some rays up there and a bit of cloud, there's some script up there. But to do it softly and subtly, it just blends in with the background and looks like a texture rather than specifics.
Yeah. Heather, you've got that saved with all the layers. That must be a very, very big image.
220 meg.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
That's not big. No.
No.
It's always best to save the layers because you can go back and have another play, can't you?
The number of times I go, I will go back in and sort of fiddle.
Never tried it, but if you save and if you flatten an image, and then save it as a Photoshop file, can you go back in and undo the flatten?
No,
you can't.
Not once you've saved it.
That's a shame, isn't it?
What I tend to do is
make the file smaller, isn't it?
Yeah, I would save this. sometimes if there are things that I've done that I know I am happy with and won't change, then I will link the layers and sort of drop it down a bit. But storage is cheap. I would rather save all the info and buy another portable hard drive for 45 quid than have to do it all again.
Top plan.
Yeah. I mean, there's times
I do.
especially if you finish the job, you go and print it out, you look at it, and you're thinking, that's not looking right, and you want to go back and change it. You still have all the information there to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather be looking at it than for it.
Yes. Yeah.
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 And when you think you spend hours on some of these images, and why flatten it? Because you've then lost all your work, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know, it's
yeah. And sometimes when you do it and then you come back to it to print it out, you find that the balance between your foreground and your background doesn't look the same when you print it as what it does on the reflection off the screen. So you might want to tweak different layers to get what you're looking for. So I never ever, I mean, on ordinary, just basic ones that you know, just fiddled and diddled and done and that's it. Yes, I will sometimes flatten them, but not for, you know, I will keep.
Master.
Yeah.
Do you then save it as a PSD or a TIFF file?
PSD.
I prefer TIFF because you can read it with any program that supports TIFF. PSD is proprietary to Adobe.
Yeah, I use
Does TIFF store the layers though?
No, I use PSD on One and Affinity. I use PSDs. In fact, when I download anything in my RAW converter on One, I've put it to save as PSDs.
Yeah, Affinity Open recognises PSDs.
Yeah,
it does. That's one of its features.
In practice, it doesn't make that much difference unless you've got software that only reads TIFFs, in which case you want to save as TIFFs all the time.
Yes.
I think if you're in the industry, perhaps TIFF is a more acceptable one to do. But
Chris, it's Warren. When you if you save images with Olympus in high res, they save them in a .ori file instead of ORF, and Adobe can't read them at all.
No.
On one hand.
So Olympus cameras again.
No, it's a really weird thing, and as far as I can work out, with the high res mode and the raw file, you have to rename it to an ORF file, and then it picks up okay.
So you can actually rename it without damaging the file.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, because I made the mistake of putting a video of me talking about trialing a camera on YouTube. Don't ever do that. 70,000 hits and lots of people telling me I know nothing about photography. And
70,000 people can't be wrong.
Yeah, well, yeah. And well, actually,
sorry,
I don't mind them telling me I don't know anything, but I do object to the way they told me.